Tyler's senses sharpened as the ominous figures surrounded him, their cold, focused stares zeroing in on their target. He remained steadfast, his body tense and his heart racing with a blend of terror and resolve. The van's side door groaned open, exposing the pitch-black interior. In an instant, powerful hands grabbed Tyler, pulling him into the van's dark recesses before he could even react. Stepping out of his office, Tyler shielded his eyes from the glaring sun. The oppressive brightness seemed to amplify the swirl of looming deadlines in his mind, each task a daunting peak to climb. Lunchtime arrived as a fleeting break in the midst of his hectic day. The morning had been challenging, and he couldn't shake the feeling that the rest of the day might offer little reprieve. The inviting scent of freshly brewed coffee drew Tyler to his favorite retreat, the charming cafe across the park. As he walked in, the cheerful jingle of the doorbell greeted him, and the barista, who always remembered his order, welcomed him warmly. Cradling his steaming latte, Tyler relished the soothing predictability of this daily ritual, finding a brief respite from the relentless pressures of his job. Sitting on an old bench under the gentle shade of a grand oak tree, Tyler let out a long, deep breath, letting the park's calm atmosphere envelop him. As he sipped his coffee, the tightness in his shoulders began to ease, and the clamor of his thoughts transformed into a soft, comforting hum. Surrounded by nature's serenity, Tyler discovered peace in the straightforwardness of the here and now. Tyler settled onto the bench, letting the moments drift by as he took in the lively park scene. Around him, the park buzzed with activity. Children's laughter echoed, elderly couples ambled together, and joggers moved purposefully along the paths. Every person passing by seemed to embody their own set of challenges and happiness. Tyler found himself reflecting on the unspoken tales etched on their faces, each one contributing to the park's vibrant mosaic of life. Tyler sat in quiet reflection, his mind wandering through the chapters of his past. Each memory came alive like a series of faded photographs, recounting moments that had shaped his journey. He vividly recalled the day he gathered the courage to chase his dream of becoming a police officer, navigating the challenges of rigorous physical and academic training that tested his determination. Despite his relentless efforts, Tyler faced a harsh reality when he was unable to complete the academy. The sting of failure was a difficult lesson, but it marked a pivotal moment in his path, shaping his perspective and resolve moving forward. Despite the setback, Tyler remained steadfast in his sense of purpose. He felt a deep-seated conviction that he was destined for more than merely working behind a desk, crunching numbers. His inner drive to make a difference was unwavering, pushing him towards a role where he could truly impact lives. The urge to become a guardian and beacon of hope in a world often overshadowed by darkness only intensified, urging him towards a life of service he could no longer ignore. Tyler unwrapped his bagel, the warm scent of toasted sesame seeds filling the air. As he took a bite, he let his eyes roam over the park, taking in the scene. Children frolicked joyfully in the playground, their laughter ringing out like a cheerful melody. Nearby, parents observed with beaming smiles, their pride evident. Meanwhile, commuters rushed by, absorbed in their own worlds, their swift steps underscoring the city's relentless rhythm. Tyler's gaze was unwavering, scanning the serene landscape for any signs of danger. This vigilance was a product of years of training and a deeply ingrained instinct, sharpened during his brief chase of a dream. A wave of regret washed over him as he acknowledged that he hadn't fulfilled his aspirations. He had always envisioned himself as a guardian, a hero for those in need. Yet, fate had steered him toward a life of monotony and routine, far from the purpose he had once sought. As Tyler chewed his bagel, a wave of disappointment settled over him. Helping others had always been his instinctive calling, a drive that pushed him to exceed his limits. The idea of turning this passion into a career had been his greatest motivation. Yet now, surrounded by the daily grind, Tyler felt a persistent sense of unfulfillment. He couldn't escape the nagging feeling that he was destined for something greater. Despite his efforts, the life he had dreamed of seemed to elude him, leaving him trapped in a monotonous routine. Amidst the flurry of activity, Tyler's gaze wandered across the park, taking in the vibrant tableau of life around him. His attention snagged on a solitary figure, a little girl perched on a nearby bench, her presence striking amidst the bustling scene. Despite his initial dismissal, a frown creased Tyler's brow as he observed her, a niggling sense of unease settling in the pit of his stomach. The little girl sat alone, a poignant contrast against the backdrop of laughter and chatter that filled the park. Tyler couldn't tear his eyes away from her, his heart clenching at the sight of her huddled form. She wore a white dress adorned with delicate lace, her red and white striped tights peeking out from beneath her skirt. Her small hands fiddled nervously with the hem of her dress, her furrowed brow betraying her inner turmoil. As Tyler continued to watch, a sense of urgency gnawed at him. The little girl's solitude seemed to deepen with each passing moment, her anxiety palpable in the way she glanced around, searching for someone who never came. Tyler's eyes darted around the park, scanning the faces of the passers-by in a desperate bid for reassurance. Yet, amidst the throng of people, there was no sign of anyone coming to claim her. An hour had passed since Tyler first noticed the little girl, her presence a lingering weight on his conscience. His lunch break had ended 15 minutes ago, yet he remained rooted to the bench, unable to tear himself away without knowing she was safe. With a sigh, he resolved to give it another 15 minutes, his sense of duty outweighing the demands of his job. The little girl remained motionless, her demeanor unchanged despite the passage of time. Unlike the other children who played and laughed without a care in the world, she sat in solitude, her eyes darting anxiously around the park. Tyler couldn't shake the feeling of unease that settled over him as he watched her, his heart aching for the fear and uncertainty etched across her face. Glancing around the park once more, Tyler's frustration mounted as he failed to spot anyone who appeared to be looking for the girl. Concerned mothers cast wary glances in their direction, their maternal instincts sensing something amiss. With a deep breath, Tyler knew he couldn't simply wait idly by any longer. It was time to take action. Approaching the little girl tentatively, Tyler knelt down beside her, his voice gentle as he asked, "Are you okay, sweetheart? Where are your parents?" But the girl remained silent, her wide eyes filled with a mixture of fear and confusion. Her lower lip trembled, a silent testament to the turmoil raging within her. Tyler's heart sank as he realized the gravity of the situation. With each passing moment, the weight of responsibility pressed down upon him, a silent plea for help emanating from the child before him. Uncertain of what to do next, he glanced around frantically, searching for someone, anyone who could provide answers. But as the concerned stares of nearby mothers intensified, Tyler knew he was running out of time. Tyler's attempts to gather information proved futile as he questioned the park goers around him. Each inquiry yielded the same disheartening response: no one knew the little girl or had seen anyone looking for her. Frustration gnawed at Tyler's insides as he realized the enormity of the situation unfolding before him. Turning to the nearby mothers for assistance, Tyler's hopes dwindled with each shake of the head and furrowed brow. Despite their sympathetic glances, none could offer any insight into the girl's identity or whereabouts. Panic simmered beneath the surface as Tyler grappled with the overwhelming sense of helplessness. Just as Tyler contemplated calling the authorities, the little girl's timid voice interrupted his thoughts. "Can you help me find my mommy?" she pleaded, her eyes pleading for reassurance. Tyler's heart clenched at the desperation in her voice, torn between the urgency of the situation and the uncertainty of his next course of action. Caught between two equally daunting choices, Tyler weighed his options carefully. Should he heed the girl's plea and assist her in the search for her mother, or should he adhere to protocol and involve the authorities? The weight of responsibility bore down upon him, each decision fraught with its own set of risks and uncertainties. In the end, Tyler resolved to trust his instincts and prioritize the girl's immediate need for help. With a determined nod, he made a silent vow to see this through to the end, whatever it may entail. Pushing aside his own apprehensions, he extended a reassuring hand to the girl, his voice steady as he promised, "Don't worry, we'll find your mommy together." As Tyler and the little girl ventured into the park, the warm rays of the sun danced through the leaves overhead. The little girl tugged at Tyler's hand, her small fingers insistent as she pointed in a specific direction. "Come on, mister, this way," she urged, her voice filled with urgency. Tyler crouched down to her eye level, his brows furrowed with concern. "Let's take a look around the park first, okay? We want to make sure we don't miss anything." The little girl nodded reluctantly, her eyes scanning the surroundings nervously as they walked. As they strolled through the park, Tyler kept a close watch on the little girl. She seemed jittery, her gaze darting around anxiously as if searching for something or someone. "Are you all right?" Tyler asked gently, his voice laced with concern. The girl nodded, but her grip on Tyler's hand tightened. "We'll find your mommy, don't worry," Tyler reassured her, offering a comforting smile. After a thorough search and inquiries with other parkgoers, Tyler's heart sank. Nobody had seen the girl's mother, and none recognized the girl herself. Frustration crept into Tyler's voice as he turned to the woman who claimed to have seen the girl before. "Are you sure you've never seen anyone drop her off or pick her up?" he inquired, his tone tinged with desperation. The woman shook her head, sympathy etched on her face. "No, I'm sorry. She just appears here every day like clockwork. I don't know why or how." Tyler's mind raced as he tried to piece together the puzzle. How could a young girl be alone in the park every day without anyone noticing? It didn't make sense. He glanced down at the little girl, a mix of determination and concern in his eyes. "We'll figure this out, I promise," he vowed, squeezing her hand reassuringly. With a renewed sense of purpose, Tyler scanned the park once more, his gaze lingering on every face, every corner. Then, a flicker of hope ignited as he spotted a familiar figure among the crowd. "Excuse me," he called out to the woman who had been watching the girl. "Did you notice anything strange?" The woman shook her head. "No, she just comes to the park every day and sits around. I usually leave before she leaves, so I don't know if anybody picks her up in the first place." Tyler's heart quickened. What was happening here? Despite their thorough search, Tyler and the little girl came up empty-handed in the park. Disappointment weighed heavy in Tyler's chest as he glanced down at the determined yet still frightened child beside him. "We'll keep looking, okay?" he assured her, his voice tinged with resolve. As they prepared to leave the park, the little girl suddenly tugged at Tyler's hand, her eyes wide with excitement. "I saw my mom this way! Come on!" she exclaimed, her voice filled with newfound hope. Tyler followed her lead, his suspicions beginning to stir. The girl's sudden change in demeanor caught him off guard. She had been hesitant and scared before, but now she seemed eager, almost too eager. As they walked, the little girl quickened her pace, pulling Tyler along with an unexpected strength. Alarm bells rang in Tyler's mind, but he brushed them aside, chiding himself for his paranoia. Maybe she was just relieved to be closer to finding her mom, he reasoned with himself. Finally, they reached the edge of the park, and the little girl pointed excitedly across the street. "That's my mom's car!" she exclaimed, her voice ringing with certainty. Tyler's heart leaped with hope, but as they approached the white van, a sense of dread washed over him. Something wasn't right. As they drew closer, Tyler's suspicions were confirmed. Two shadowy figures sat in the front of the van, barely visible behind the darkly tinted windows. Panic surged through Tyler as he realized the danger they were in. He grabbed the little girl's hand tightly, his voice urgent as he whispered, "Are you sure, sweetie?" Despite Tyler's growing unease, the little girl continued to pull him relentlessly towards the white van. Each step felt heavier, laden with a sense of impending danger that clung to the air like a suffocating fog. Tyler's heart raced as they neared the vehicle, his instincts screaming at him to flee, but he couldn't abandon the child, who so desperately believed her salvation awaited within those tinted windows. As they approached the van, the girl suddenly dropped Tyler's hand, her eyes fixed on the vehicle with an intensity that sent shivers down Tyler's spine. Before he could react, she darted around the side of the van, disappearing from view. Tyler's stomach twisted with dread as he attempted to follow her, his footsteps quickening to match the urgency of the situation. But before he could reach her, a deafening clang echoed through the air as the van's door swung open with ominous finality. Tyler staggered backward, his eyes widening in horror as a behemoth of a man emerged from within, his features obscured by the shadows cast by the vehicle. Panic surged through Tyler's veins as he realized the danger they were in. With adrenaline-fueled desperation, he scrambled to his feet, his muscles tensing in preparation for the imminent threat. Before Tyler could react, the massive figure lunged forward with lightning speed, his imposing form eclipsing Tyler's vision as he was violently shoved to the ground. Pain exploded through Tyler's body as he collided with the unforgiving asphalt, the taste of blood flooding his senses. Gasping for breath, Tyler struggled to push himself upright, his gaze locking onto the looming figure towering over him with a menacing glare. As Tyler's mind raced with a flurry of desperate thoughts, he realized the gravity of the situation. They were trapped, at the mercy of these unknown assailants who lurked within the shadows of the van. With every fiber of his being, Tyler fought against the rising tide of fear threatening to consume him. He couldn't give up, not now. For the sake of the innocent child whose fate was entwined with his own, he would stand his ground and defy the darkness closing in around them. Ignoring the pain shooting through his body, Tyler pushed himself up from the ground, his muscles straining against the ache as determination surged within him. He was committed to helping the girl, regardless of the personal cost. Every fiber of his being was devoted to her safety, even if it meant enduring further suffering. As Tyler scanned the tumultuous scene around him, his heart sank like a stone. There, amidst the chaos, he spotted the little girl being spirited away by the other man. She clung to his back, her embrace a stark contrast to the fear that had gripped her moments before. Tyler's breath caught in his throat as he witnessed the man casually high-fiving the girl, a chilling realization dawning upon him. A surge of betrayal washed over Tyler, bitter and unforgiving. He had wanted nothing more than to be a beacon of protection for the vulnerable child, to fulfill his civic duty and make a positive impact on her life. But now, as he stood amidst the chaos of deception and danger, he understood the cruel reality of his situation. He had been duped, played for a fool by those who preyed upon his compassion. With a heavy heart and a sense of impending doom, Tyler realized the dire consequences of his misplaced trust. He had willingly walked into a trap, his altruism twisted into a weapon against him. Now, he found himself ensnared in a perilous predicament, facing threats he never could have anticipated. As the weight of his realization settled upon him, Tyler braced himself for the harrowing ordeal that lay ahead. He had wanted to be a hero, but instead, he found himself a pawn in a game of deceit and danger, his noble intentions betrayed and his safety hanging in the balance. Tyler's senses heightened as the menacing figures closed in around him, their predatory gazes locking onto their prey with chilling precision. He stood his ground, a solitary figure braced against the encroaching threat, his heart hammering in his chest with a mixture of fear and defiance. With a sinister creak, the side of the van swung open, revealing the dark abyss within. Before Tyler could react, strong hands seized him, dragging him into the shadowy depths of the vehicle's interior. Panic surged through him as he realized the gravity of his predicament, trapped within the belly of the beast. "Give us your bank codes and your wallet," the assailants demanded, their voices dripping with malice. Tyler's resolve wavered, but he clenched his jaw with determination, refusing to surrender to their threats. However, as a sharp, agonizing pain pierced his side, he recoiled in anguish, his resistance crumbling like sandcastles before the rising tide. Shaking with a potent cocktail of fear and anger, Tyler relented, his voice trembling as he spat out the information they sought. With each damning word, he felt a piece of his dignity shatter, leaving behind only the hollow echo of his defeat. Finally, as the assailants tossed him out of the van like discarded refuse, Tyler lay on the ground, robbed of his possessions and his sense of security. With bitter resignation, he watched as the van disappeared into the night, leaving behind nothing but the lingering taste of betrayal and the harsh sting of his own vulnerability.